Now is the time for us to model being brave rather than staying silent and hoping things will be okay.
Right now on KGW, Portland City Council unanimously votes to codify the Rose City as a sanctuary city and implement a new Protect Portland initiative. We'll tell you what that means. Plus,
so there's tremendous pressure on this three-judge panel to get a decision out and not just a yes or no.
a federal judge doubles down on blocking the National Guard's deployments from Portland, but that could change as we wait for what could be an overriding ruling on deployment from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Then, a celebration of culture and connection. The Oregon Origins Project is kicking off its new season with performance honoring a certain tribe with ties to Oregon. And later,
it's a ball left center field, headed back there, goodbye!
it was a good start to the Mariners game last night in Seattle, but then things went south from there. We'll recap Game 3 of the American League Championship Series and also look ahead to Game 4 tonight between the M's and the Blue Jays. KGW News at noon starts right now.
I actually think that we're going to win. It's just going to be really hard, and it's going to take all of us doing our part.
And our top story this afternoon, Portland city officials are pushing back against the Trump administration's immigration policies. At a council meeting last night, city leaders approved two measures they say are designed to protect residents from immigration officers. Thank you for joining this afternoon. I'm China Green. Well, the first effort, called the Protect Portland Initiative, denounces attempts by President Trump to deploy federal troops. The second proposal codifies Portland as a sanctuary city. So under these ideas, the city would try to determine how the federal government is enforcing President Trump's policies and see if they are surveilling Portlanders. The city will also create a rapid response plan for immigration raids and create an information hub with resources for residents.
Now is the time for us to model being brave rather than staying silent and hoping things will be okay.
As leaders, I believe it is incumbent upon us to use every single tool we have to stand up for our community.
The vote comes as President Donald Trump has pushed to send National Guard troops to Portland for weeks to protect federal buildings like the ICE facility, which Trump officials say is under threat. Meanwhile, a federal judge has extended her order that temporarily blocks the President Trump from deploying the National Guard to Portland. Judge Karen Emerget's restraining order was set to expire this week, but will now remain in place for another 2 weeks. This comes as we wait a ruling from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which by the federal government around immigrants' decision last week. When we also have an update on a member of Portland's unprecedented brass band who federal officers arrested during a protest outside the ICE facility this past Sunday. Oriana Carroll is charged with assaulting a federal officer. The U.S. Attorney's Office says Carroll interfered with another arrest, then kicked and bit an officer while she was being detained. Carroll's bandmates say Carroll was playing the clarinet at a protest when an agent charged and held her against a fence. Carroll is out of jail pending her next court appearance. Stay with KGW for the latest surrounding Portland's ICE facility and the possible deployment of the National Guard to the city. We'll bring you updates here on air, online, and at KGW.com and on our free TV streaming app, KGW Plus. All right, we are headed up to the weather deck where we find Chris McGinnis. And earlier I saw you were out there, going through things and mic checks with sunglasses on.
Yeah, I was told that I needed to take them off because they were a little cheesy.
It's sunny.
I kind of need them, but yeah, it is bright. It is sunny up here. Excellent observation, Shina. A gorgeous afternoon out here. Check out the fog, though, that we saw in parts of the area earlier this morning. We rolled on our springs along the Vancouver waterfront there. You can see the interstate bridge kind of playing peekaboo with the fog, the thick fog that developed in the 7 to 9 o'clock hours. That fog, of course, is out of here now. And as we look at the visible satellite imagery across most of northwest Oregon and southwest Washington, the sky is clear. Now, you do see some clouds off to the north and west. That's our next weak weather system that will be coming in later on this evening. More on that in a bit. But for now, from that foggy camera that we had to a bright and sunny camera that we have along Vancouver's waterfront, the sun is out, the water of the Columbia is shimmering, and it is up to 53 degrees. A little chilly after a cool start. Portland, by the way, was down to 39 again this morning. That marks back-to-back days in the upper 30s. We have not done that since March 13th and 14th. So yeah, a couple of cool mornings for sure, but nice afternoons out there. Temperatures today will inch back into the lower 60s. I've got us getting up to about 63 before the clouds thicken up later on this afternoon. Those clouds are precursor for maybe some sprinkles tomorrow early. But, you know, a pretty decent forecast for Friday. The weekend looks a little 50-50-ish. And what I mean by that, China, is that there is some rain, but I'm going to try to narrow down the window of when that rain will fall, coming up with my full forecast in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Chris. New at noon, Providence announced today that it would permanently close occupational medicine and workplace health services at 4 Portland metro area clinics. The hospital system said the decision is due to changing needs in the community, is moving away from occupational medicine and workplace health services as a core part of its business. So starting November 7th, the service will no longer be offered at Providence's Bridgeport Health Center in Tigard, Clackamas Medical Plaza, Tanasbourne Health Center in Hillsborough, and the Newburgh Medical Center. Occupational health services will still be offered at the Hood River Memorial Hospital. Around 43 nurses and caregivers will be laid off due to the service shutdown. Providence said it has offered severance pay to each employee being laid off and are encouraging those who want to stay with the hospital group to apply to open positions. In response to the closure and layoffs, the Oregon Nurses Association said, quote, "Disappointed to see Providence continue to disinvest in health care for Oregonians. This latest closure will affect thousands of people and businesses who depend on Providence for occupational health services." Our other story this afternoon, Portland police are looking for video that could help them figure out who shot and killed a woman in Northwest Portland. Last Saturday morning, authorities discovered the body of Crystal Pendergraph in her car on Kearney Street. They're now asking anyone living or working between Northwest 19th and 24th and between Gleason and Pettygrove to upload surveillance video they might have between 5:50 and 6:30 that morning. Crime Stoppers of Oregon is also offering up to $2,500 for information leading to an arrest. 53-year-old Chad Westover right there has been found guilty of second-degree murder in the kitchen knife stabbing death of a local mail carrier. The deadly confrontation between Westover and Tristan Thomas happened last September at an apartment complex on Southeast Sunnyside Road. Westover's sentencing is set for next month. An 18-year-old involved in a deadly crash on Savi Island that killed his 17-year-old passenger has avoided jail time. Aiden Hurd was sentenced to probation for driving a UTV that flipped, killing Ava Cruz. Hurd admitted to drinking alcohol before the crash and pleaded guilty to criminally negligent homicide. Ava's family later made a request for leniency and asked the judge for rehab over punishment.
As Ava's mother has stated repeatedly, and I want to encompass her own words, since the moment that this tragedy happened, Aiden Hurd has acted with honesty, accountability, and integrity and remorse and respect to their family.
Hurd's sentence includes 5 years probation, 400 hours of community service, and the permanent loss of his driver's license. A group of 135 legacy health workers voted to authorize a strike. The group includes physician associates, nurse practitioners, and clinical nurse specialists. They say one of the key issues here is uncompensated work. Their union says that workers often perform unpaid tasks that are essential to patient care. Legacy Health told KGW that it will continue to engage in good faith bargaining with the workers. Meanwhile, roughly 4,000 local Kaiser Health care workers continue their strike this week. They walked off the job on Tuesday and plan to continue striking until Sunday, pushing for better salaries and staffing. A cultural celebration coming up this weekend in Southeast Portland will bring together members of a local tribe. It's part of an event series that highlights Indigenous stories and Oregon's history through art and music. Corey Johnson has the details.
The Oregon Origins Project is launching its new season with a performance called Earth and Heart. And it marks the first time in generations that Nez Perce tribe culture bearers have gathered in Portland in decades, sharing language, music, and traditional stories that tie their heritage to Oregon's land. Oregon Origins works to bring artists and communities together through creative projects focused on heritage and belonging. Organizers of the event say the performance will feature songs and storytelling as part of a statewide effort to keep Indigenous traditions alive and also rethink how tribal lines have been defined over time. Events like this help to shed light on the treaty lines made in 1855 and the effort toward inclusivity, since Nez Perce is technically considered an Idaho tribe rather than Oregon.
Typically, you know, when things are done with tribes, it's tribal Oregon centric. and it often cuts out us because of those false lines that really don't mean anything in terms of the culture and the way we relate to this landscape.
Now, the event will be held at Reed College on Saturday night at 6 p.m. It is pay what you can donations in order to get a ticket, but organizers of the event tell me that proceeds from those tickets will benefit Oregon Origins projects moving forward. Back to you.